All right, so the first question goes to Bruce and comes from Grant and Steven.
No, other way.
Oh, wait. Okay, I guess the first question. Oh, sorry, you guys switch this? Okay, sorry. First question goes to Grant and Steven and comes from Bruce.
Sorry.
I'm interested in having clarified the idea of what do you think about the ethics of environmentalism, global poverty, and cruelty to animals? Are they ethical concerns or are they not ethical concerns, and why?
So, I think the first two are ethical concerns, insofar as they hurt other human beings. And I think we've been pretty clear about this. And I think if they do hurt human beings, it doesn't necessarily mean my action of like cutting down a tree so I can have a Christmas tree is an unethical action. I think that if insofar as it hurts other people, we can do what's called taxing the externality, which means if it hurts other people, I then have to pay for it hurting other people, and I have to pay for it being changed. So that's our position on that question. The first two, they're ethical if they hurt other human beings. But what we've told you is that it doesn't really work in these particular cases. We're not stopping global poverty if we become vegetarians. And the third one, we tell you, we're not considering this an ethical question. We think animals aren't human beings, they aren't rational. So we don't think it's unethical. Now, individual communities can vote to say we don't want kittens' tails to be on fire. And that might be okay, but we don't think there's an ethical obligation to ban these actions. We think it's something individual communities can adjudicate. And they probably adjudicate on the basis of, is this something that's going to make all of us as human beings happier? Like if you see a cat's tail on fire, you'll probably become a little bit unhappy. So you as a community might ban that. But I don't think that's something that's ethically required.
So the next question comes from Yale and goes to Bruce. He gets 2 minutes to respond.
So our question is, building a mall kills animals, removes habitat, probably hurts the environment, and insofar as that mall might have been on farmland, probably stops the supply of food a little bit. Do you think we are unethical in building malls, or unethical in going to malls because we're encouraging more malls to be built?
Yeah, I mean, I think this gets at the heart of the matter vis-a-vis the difference of opinion that we're having on this topic, because this is an example, this is similar to the other examples that you gave where there are legitimate trade-offs of interests and rights. So what I would argue is that, yes, you can make a trade-off of rights or a trade-off of interests, but that any of our desire to have a positive palate preference experience for a little bit of time does not outweigh the question at hand, the fact that we're causing animals to suffer miserably, that we are in fact stealing food out of the mouths of the poor, and that we're doing something that is hugely problematic environmentally, both vastly polluting and extraordinarily wasteful.
All right. So again, the next question goes to Yale, and again, so you get 2 minutes to respond.
I'm wondering if you would, how you feel about slitting animals' throats open and about the abuse that we saw on the factory farming video. And I guess you just explained that you don't think it's an ethical consideration because the animals don't have rights. But I'm wondering if you personally, like what you think about that and whether you think there is any benefit to somebody changing their behavior to try to not pay other people to do things that they're basically supporting by their dining choices. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So we told you how we felt about this question. The relevant question is eating meat unethical? Which means for him to win, he would have to prove that the act is intrinsically unethical. We think, for example, that it's very possible to raise a chicken that lives a meaningful life, that doesn't suffer pain, and then is slaughtered painlessly. But he needs to defend that even that is unethical. We think it's totally fine for societies to have laws that regulate the way that we raise livestock, even if a society doesn't have a problem. Societies can have those types of laws, but he needs to win that given that we don't have these intuitions, given that we just don't feel this way about this particular thing, he needs to win that the act is intrinsically unethical. And given that these animals wouldn't exist if we didn't raise them for livestock, it's not the case that we would just set free millions of chickens and they would live happy lives in like wherever the hell they went. That wouldn't happen. They would cease to exist, or they would get run over by cars or eaten by birds. Like, let's be honest about this. So he needs to explain to us why somehow non-existence is preferable to existence, given that these things would not exist but for the fact that we have raised them.
All right, so I think those two each, right?
No, I don't think you've answered that. I don't think you've answered the second question.
Okay, so next question goes to Bruce.
So we want to see how far you're willing to go with your advocacy. So we could solve a lot of animal suffering by ending medical testing on animals. It would probably cost a lot of human lives. What's your personal position on this, or what's Keith's position?
For the same reason that we recognize that other animals are more like us than they're unlike us, which Charles Darwin taught us, Richard Dawkins says that other species are evolutionary cousins, and that placing humans at the center of this moral universe and all other species outside this moral universe, that is what he calls speciesist arrogance. So for the same reason... So for the same reason that we wouldn't say some human beings, depending on their degree of cognition, should be subjected to animal experimentation, I would argue that similarly, other animals should not be subjected to animal experimentation. But I would also refer people to the very vigorous debate about whether your premise is accurate. There are an awful lot of people, including the British Medical Journal, that believe that animal experimentation has cost rather than saved human lives, that animal experimentation is not relevant to human beings, and that in fact animal experimentation for human reasons should be abolished. There's some pretty good books on the issue. One of them is called Specious Science, and one of them is called Sacred Cows and Golden Geese. Those were both co-written by a doctor in his veterinarian wife.
Exactly.
Huh?
Exactly. Sorry, it's a turn.